And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Desk. That's right, we're at The Desk here at ESL 1 Frankfurt. The crowd still very much here in force and still supporting fnatic in a very big way here as they try and attempt to make it a 2-0 against Vici Gaming. Chaps, very good game from fnatic to start things off. Lots of confidence flying. Do you think it's nice to have this distraction of having a game to play rather than the other stuff that we've got to think about right now?
I heard from a reliable source backstage that Honey in particular wasn't too happy today.
Yeah.
With all things considered, it's very understandable. So I think this game really put their mindset to the game and realizing, hey, we can still play Dota. Let's do it.
Let's they can.
And they really could, right? Honey especially had a very standout performance on the Tiny, just showing just how strong that hero is.
Yeah, Seb, what were your highlight moments from that first game?
Well, I do think that fnatic's early game was that good that Vici couldn't really answer. Like they came back at one point because they had the superior team fight, but just fnatic just outclassed them in every possible way.
Yeah, Jacob made the point that Vici seemed very passive at the start of the match. Any particular reason why? Was it the combination they had, or was it a style of play they chose? What do you think?
Like, in my opinion, the reason was just because fnatic was basically crushing them. Like they destroyed that Death Prophet, they destroyed Doom on the bottom lane. Sorry, they were winning every lane, every single initiation, and not only winning because they had the better heroes or the better combo. They just played better in the early game and ended the game in 2 minutes. So it's just fnatic showing how strong they can be.
Okay. Vici also had some defensive supports to begin with, so it's very hard for them to play aggressively. When you have a Shaker and Shadow Shaman, it is a very greedy support duo that needs time. So I just think, you know, Shaker is a good defensive support, and Shadow Shaman is, I still think he's mainly a defensive support, but he can work aggressively sometimes. But in this game, I think what Vici maybe should have done was they should have put a lot of more emphasis in the mid lane in some way. Like it may be Shaker helping out, or maybe Shadow Shaman, maybe even play some sort of a dual lane if they could make one. But their composition wasn't really good against IO Tiny, which is funny because they knew that from the first 2 picks. They must have known that it was going to be IO Tiny mid, and they actually just accepted that they were going to get dominated there. So
they had the Shaker roaming, but the key moment, in my opinion, on that lane was that fnatic dewarded their hill, so Vici couldn't know when fnatic was going for a kill, whereas fnatic knew all the time where Shaker was. So they just waited Shaker to go away, get a kill on Prophet, do that 3-4 times, and Vici was just getting outplayed.
Okay, let's look at match number 2. Chance for fnatic to win this one 2-0 would be not a shock, obviously, but it would be a very big signal from them in this tournament.
I think it all comes down to the draft. If they ban again the Meepo and the Tinker, it might be a mistake. Although Vici Gaming, with the first pick this time, they can actually take one of those heroes and ban the Wisp as well. So we'll see what happens with that. And most interestingly, I was looking at Vici Gaming's stats, and no one player has a really great hero. There's only one, and it's Sylar with the anti-mage. So maybe if they plan for the late game, we can bring back the anti-mage and make them win in 60-70 minutes.
Please no.
Okay.
Please no anti-mage.
Everyone's heart just went, oh really? Okay, maybe not. We mentioned the bans and the picks in the first game, and it was obvious that they were respect bans. Do you think we'll see the similar kind of respect in the second game, or can they afford to be that respectful?
No, to echo what Bruno said, I think they'd make a huge mistake in at least banning out the Meepo. I said this in game 1 as well. I didn't expect them to ban the Meepo simply because I don't think it's a worthwhile ban at any point. Well, later on in the later ban stages, obviously, if there's room for the Meepo pick, then you should ban it out. But for a first ban, definitely not. The Tinker, that's easily justifiable, but I don't think they should go with this Meepo ban. Question is if they even want to ban the Wisp.
They could pick it themselves.
To be honest, wasn't the problem this more than the Wisp? That game, I mean, whenever they tried to initiate on someone, the center ultimate completely denying Doom's effect in that game. I felt like Trixie had a huge impact as well.
Oh yeah, they had a lot of issues to deal with. They had the Priestess of the Moon ultimate. They also ate a lot of arrows. Excalibur set up a lot of kills. He set up the first blood, I think also the second kill, and in some of the team fights, the arrow was the initiating factor, or the closing factor in one of them as well. So Excalibur also had a very good game on his Priestess of the Moon.
He did.
Okay, what are we looking for in game 2? What are we looking for Vici Gaming to step up? I mean, not just in terms of the draft, but in terms of overall play and cohesiveness, if you like, because they showed flashes of real brilliance in the first game.
I think this was, not to take anything from fnatic because they played amazingly well, I think this was kind of a flop game for Vici Gaming. These kind of things that normally happen when you go into a big stage right now, or like into a big tournament. The first game, you might not click, But I think Vici Gaming, they will talk, or they would have talked during the break, and will be ready for game 2 to play their normal game.
Okay, I mean they're a very experienced team. They've played all around the world. They know what they can expect when they come to a place that, well, as much as they can before you walk out into a place like this. But do you feel like maybe the atmosphere is affecting them in any way? Because there is a tremendous amount of support down there for Fnatic.
I don't think it's the crowd or anything to do with the land setting or anything. I think I'm honestly thinking that they're questioning what went wrong. It's more that they didn't really predict what Fnatic would do. I don't think anyone can predict what kind of lineup Fnatic is going to pull out their sleeve. I mean, with Tiny, yeah, that's obvious, but what are they going to follow it up with? Yeah. Skywrath mates, it's a hero that almost only Fnatic picks. You could
Keeper of the Light they do as well, and it works very well for them.
Yeah, and like Priestess of the Moon and Centaur as the finishing picks, it's not obvious by any means. I think they have a hard time understanding how they need to play against it, because by all means they got a really well-rounded lineup. And it's probably hard for them right now to say, well, we should never pick this because all the heroes are really good.
Yeah. Bruno, you mentioned that there's no one on Vici Gaming which really stands out on any one particular hero, but it's almost the similar story for Fnatic if you exclude Excalibur for now. I mean, they're all over the place with the stats. I mean, you look at, they've played Earthshaker 13 times, won 8, lost 5. I mean, that's not great, but it's all right. Mirana played 13, won 9, lost 4. I mean, there's nothing that really stands out and goes, oh, you've got to ban that.
You know what? That's actually really interesting for Fnatic, because even though you're entirely right, it also talks about how Fnatic has, more than any other team in Dota 2, I would say, a play style. Like, you can say, oh, Navi, well, they play aggressive. IG, they have the tempo players. But Fnatic, they actually have a style. You see the Wisp Tiny in them. You see these aggressive offlaners that rotate. Like, you can easily describe how Fnatic plays. And because they do this with a range of heroes and across their whole career, you see ups and downs all the time.
I mean, in 6.81, they've played 67 different heroes in 47 games.
They're, I think, the most versatile team here, and the most unpredictable one.
They make themselves the most versatile team. I think they're the only team that has confidence enough to just pick whatever they feel is good in the match. One thing I really hope to see is, from either team really, the Clockwork Goblin. We know that both RGK and Trixie are fond players, or fond of that hero. And so I think whoever picks that one is actually going to win, because it adds that level of aggression that both teams like to have.
I think what Vici need to do going into game 2 is that we've talked about the Tinker, we've talked about the Meepo and the IO, and they know that if they give any of them away, they know Fnatic wants it. Like, this game was obvious that Fnatic would take the IO. They left it open. Fnatic will always take IO. So what surprised me was they made the deliberate choice of banning out Excalibur's heroes, knowing they would give IO away, and then they didn't counterpick it, really. Yeah. I think so. That's what was weird for me, because if you give the IO away to Fnatic, which is arguably the best team in the world with the hero, at least one of the 3, in my opinion, they're really good with it, then at least have a plan against it. Or just ban out the IO and you give the Tinker away, and then you do something like Empire did, where you counterpick the Tinker with 3 different heroes. Empire, in a game a few days ago, had a Storm Spirit, a Clinks with an Orchid, and a 3rd hero that was good against Tinker. Excalibur did nothing the whole game. He was just crushed because he couldn't go on any lane. There was always going to be one counter pick on the lane.
Do you feel like this is not something we see very often in Chinese Dota, but Disruptor? Do you feel like they could have picked that hero
in this game?
Yeah, and benefit a lot from it? I think so. I think so. They maybe be a bit too caught up on the Shadow Shaman.
And both FY and Fenrir are really good players with Disruptor.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, Shadow Shaman, they get a lot from it. They almost got back into the mid game due to the fact that once they released the Ghost from Death Prophet and they put down the wards from Shadow Shaman, there was nothing Fnatic could do. There was simply too much damage on that area around the wards. So that's why they took down all the towers and sort of came back into the game. It gave them a false sense of security and hope, I think.
The first pick was really important also for Fnatic, I guess. Like, if you're going to ban 2, they're going to get the 3rd one as a first pick. This time around, I guess it's Vici that's going to have the first pick to their name. So maybe it might change something. Maybe they want to, like you guys mentioned, get the Wisp for themselves, or the one they decide to let through the pool.
I do hope, however, that the Fnatic bans the Pugna, because they did so in the last game. But watching what IG did, and Vici Gaming has a similar playstyle, if they get the Pugna in, that might be a little bit of trouble.
Here we go then. We are 2 picks in, and already the Wisp is in play. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's a pick your poison kind of thing, right? We want to die by the sword.
Yeah.
Live by the sword.
It's very interesting to see that they just ignored what happened. Like, okay, we
just spent 10 minutes talking about they should have done, and they didn't.
Now I would
do
be
you think
shocked
Void
if
is
they
that
don't
strong? I'm actually surprised that they wouldn't go for the Lycan ban, because I wouldn't anticipate. Maybe they were genuinely afraid of Vici picking up the Wisp. What I would have done here is ban out the Lycan instead of the Void, definitely. and then anticipated a Priestess of the Moon pickup.
That Lycan is now 100% pick ban in every game we've had so far.
I think
well.
IO Tiny is better against Lycan than they are against Void, though. Void is actually pretty good against IO Tiny because they clump up, so you get a Chrono on both of them. Most of the time, that's actually really important. But Lycan, one of Lycan's biggest strengths in teamfights is that he can commit and get out. But if you run into a tiny IO, they can actually keep up with your pace. They run at like 522 move speed as well. So I think Fnatic are just thinking, we want to play this kind of teamfight again. If Lycan wants to split push, it's very hard to split push against IO Tiny, because they can actually relocate out on you if you have any sort of opener. So for me, the biggest shocker here is if Vici do not counterpick it this time, because they just got crushed by it, now they willingly gave it away again. If you do that, you have a plan.
They don't play much jungle though.
But what's the plan? Enigma would be great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But they don't do that.
I hardly ever see them play Enigma.
Enigma is a really good pick, and actually FY plays it. He played it 4 times in this new patch. They're 3-1 with them. And it's actually pretty good. And the TIE Hunter is also really good against Wisp and anything. Just because you can panic away or you can just disencourage. Like when you see a TIE Hunter next to a team fight, you cannot relocate behind because the giveaway is so big that you will get targeted.
That's the Pognaban.
There's a Pagnaban, and I'm happy.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Jacob, but yeah, and Sebastian. If Tide uses Anchor Smash, is it base damage he removes, or is it all damage?
Base.
It's base. So Anchor Smash is actually... So ask the two others and you answer. I'm sorry, Bruno, I still love you.
That was welcome.
So Anchor Smash is really good against Tiny, because all his plus damage is actually base damage. So when you Anchor Smash that guy, he hits really weak. Even with the Ag Scepter, then he's going to be splashing for like 50 damage. Great, right? So that's a pretty smart pickup, I think.
Tiny is really good versus Tidehunter in my opinion, actually, because it's one of the only heroes that can really burst him down early on in the game.
That's true.
Tidehunter can't afford to be melee range with Tiny. He's just gonna get one shot if he has only Dagger, Arcanes, for example. So
what you're saying is they counter each other?
Yeah, I'd rather have Tiny than Tidehunter, to be honest, but that's just me. Like, in my opinion, it's that double lane mid that changes that makes that Wisp plus Tiny so strong for Fnatic.
You know what really upsets me when I see melee heroes against Tiny? It's like even TIE Hunter, which is not supposed to right click primarily, like if you have something else other than right click, you will do it. But because most people have auto attack after casting spells, I don't know if you guys do, but it's kind of like a normal thing. Sometimes you will blink next to the Tiny, and before you can cast Anchor Smash, the attack animation will be and you'll be stunned because of craggy exterior, which is really annoying and can turn the fight against you.
That's very sad indeed. Yeah.
Oh look, Fnatic is trying Skywrath with their IO Tiny.
And it's actually interesting. Priestess of the Moon is still in the pool. We might see a complete replicate of their previous lineup.
Skywrath is really good against Tide, though. It's a 0 damage silence. The best ways of dealing...
Oh, there we go. I would have been surprised if there was no reason for them not to pick it up. Like, FY is super good on that support Priestess of the Moon.
Question for you. Actually, you 3 were drafters in your team at some point. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself saying, if we can pick the exact same lineup that works so far, we will pick that same lineup? Because that rarely happens.
If it doesn't get counterpicked more than in game 1, I don't see why not. I think Fnatic's mentality has always been, if we have something that works, you know, don't change your winning strategy.
Exactly. Why change the winning recipe? It's if it worked once, it might work again, right?
Even the losing one. I mean, if you lost because of it.
Says the Frenchie.
Hold on. Let's just clear this up.
Awkward, right?
Let's just clear this up, just so that if Reddit want to post this, you're actually saying
if you lose the lineup, why not pick it again?
Pick it again. Of
course.
Good.
Never change your losing strategy.
Never change your losing strategy. You heard it here first.
That's the fan spirit. I mean, it's a way of showing your opponent that you played actually bad with the lineup and might give them false confidence. Like, in my opinion, it's not necessarily bad to
mind games.
Mind games. That's what it is.
Mind games are so important.
No, what you really want to do is you win the first game, then you pick the enemy's lineup from the first game
and you crush them. Yes,
that's the best.
That happens so often in Dota. Like,
that
really
actually
does.
happens a lot.
Yeah, it happens a lot. Like, and for the other teams, like, we must be bad because we just, you know.
Well, okay, so actually a little bit of history. Do you remember last year there was this Twitter fight between AUI 2000 and Loda because of going Bloods on Phantom Lancer, and Loda then actually played the finals against Team Dignitas where Aoi was playing, and when Phantom Lancer built Bloods
and
won just to probe him.
That's awesome stuff. I really like this type of stuff.
We got the Shadow Demon coming.
And that's the setup for the Mirana, which is completely okay. But then again, outside of the supports, the center War Runner might survive the combo still. The Tiny is also really tanky, so We'll see what happens, how the lanes match up. Fnatic has very tanky core heroes, and the Wisp and the Skywrath Mage can stay far away. We'll see.
But Shadow Demon is always my favorite support pickup when you're playing against beefy heroes like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good versus
good.
those heroes.
He's actually good against Tiny for like 3 reasons. Tiny is tanky. You've got Soulcatcher.
Yeah.
He is very mobile together with Aya. You've got Demonic Purge. And his illusions are actually really strong because he has good strength. You use Disruption. So I think it's a really great counter pick. This is the best pick for me from Vici Gaming so far in this game because it counters pretty much everything Fnatic has and it has good synergy with their own lineup. So I really like the Shadow Demon pickup.
It's a lineup they're very comfortable with as well. We've seen them run this time and time again for the past 3 months.
Yeah, I really question them giving away Centaur once again. I'm not sure about this. I think it's one of the best heroes to get with the Wisp plus X. Like, having that global ultimate is awesome.
But Rider has been completely ignored by both teams.
That's true. It's the second time. I mean, first game it was banned in the second phase, but it was still kind of ignored.
Do you think it's an Excalibur hero they're debating now since he played the Priest of the Moon last time? Or do you think...
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't take Honey away from it. We've seen it
Let
today
Honey play the Tiny.
and earlier this week that Honey's Tiny is just
Let him play the
phenomenal.
Tiny.
The thing is that Tiny might not be mid this time, so maybe that changes something.
That's true.
There's so many heroes that he can play, and the Slark is one of those. Me like it.
Yeah, I like that pickup a lot.
It's really good versus the Radiance lineup.
They're gonna have such a hard time keeping tabs on that hero.
He will move around. The Lycan, he will not be able to escape.
Yeah, and
Pounce against Lycan and Mirana.
If Slark
really
catches anyone, they're basically dead because, hello, Tiny Wisp.
Yeah. That's true. So
Fnatic is drafting really well today.
Yes, they are really on spot. And I mean, if you look at
you
them,
say that we've seen 2 games now. They picked. I mean, the same. 4 of the same.
Wow, what a
heroes.
great draft!
what a
They
great
got 4
draft
heroes
again.
I don't know. I still think this draft is very balanced. They have great early game. They have great lane's presence. They have great late game.
They have very bad tower defense, I feel. Until that Centaur is online
Yeah, that's true.
with the Blink Dagger, what are they gonna do? If they don't stay in the game for the first 10 minutes, they'll have a really, really hard time dealing with pushes from...
The only pusher there is right now is the Lycan. All the other heroes are not really extreme
Ember
pushers.
Spirit,
And Ember
that's
Spirit.
interesting.
But I guess if you want to look at Fnatic's lineup in comparison to the last game, they had pretty bad tower defense in that game too. They had the Arrow as their main defense, and this time they're going to use Slark for the same role, maybe. So,
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. We'll come back after the map is complete, but it's time to go over to your commentary team now for match number 2 in our quarterfinal. Let's rejoin our good friends Merlini and Catalyst.
You guys, I'm Capitalist, this is Merlini. Merlini, you were talking about it, we were having a little bit of discussion back and forth. I'm looking at this Vici Gaming. Their draft feels like everything they were lacking before. Most importantly, that double support combo. I feel like they've got a kill combo. For me, Vici Gaming, I think they're actually going to be able to take this. You still hold strong for Fnatic though.
I think so. Yeah, it was the same draft as last game. Slark kind of replaces Mirana's role. Somewhat similar heroes, nice setup. Moonlight Shadow versus Shadow Dance, and gives them that really elusive hero that they need to create space. So I like Fnatic's lineup. Yes, Vici may know what they did wrong last game, but I don't actually think that this is a great lineup to deal with it. And actually super on Ember Spirit. I was talking a little bit about Ember Spirit, how it'll work well versus Meepo, and I don't really think you need to ban out Meepo if you have an excellent Ember Spirit player.
Yeah, this Ember Spirit, it was something, it was a big surprise for me that they would pick this up. I don't think I've really seen too much Ember Spirit coming out from Vici Gaming, and I didn't really expect it in this lineup. But for me, it plays into Vici Gaming's one of their biggest strengths, which is just full-out aggression. Like, I felt like there was something, their biggest weakness was in that last lineup was the fact the laning phase. They lost the laning phase hard, and then it just all snowballed against them from there. And I feel this time around, they've got the advantage in the laning phase solely because of the fact that Shadow Demon, Mirana combination, I mean, that's one of the toughest support combinations to beat just because they have so much kill potential. You find one hero out of position, and it's almost a guaranteed kill.
Yep, and
30 seconds.
looking at these lineups, who do you favor? Do you think Vici's gonna deal like, okay, we saw this exact same lineup, we know exactly what to do this game. Do you think their draft compensates for what they lacked?
I do. I mean, first of all, the support combination, I love the Tidehunter versus any sort of Tiny Wisp combo. Even if you're going to the late game or you're going for early push, what have you, I feel the Tidehunter is always going to be really good versus that. And then they also have, they certainly had enough push last time, but if they are able to take good enough lane control, right? If they take that advantage in the laning phase, this Lycan's going to start snowballing out of control. They're going to grab these tier 1 towers. The Ember Spirit, I mean, that's what I love about the Ember, is even though it surprised me for Vici Gaming, I feel that it's a hero that is very much a tempo controlling within those first 20 minutes. I mean, you can play him for the late game, but I much prefer to see him more focused on that mid-game rotation.
I really like how Vici's switching things up. They're doing an aggro try. They're dumping Sylar in the Sylar in the mid lane and Super in the off lane. So this is very, very unusual from Vici, who's actually usually very predictable. Fly.
Oh no. Fly's gonna be caught out the arrow. No, it sneaks past him. Fly, he's still caught in the disruption. Eats his way out. He turns, fights, but he's topping a lot of physical damage right now. Double avalanche stun from Hani, and that will provide the turnaround as FY juking around. Oh my goodness, as he actually juked his way out of this one. FY, ladies and gentlemen, sneaks his way away from this first blood, but it's not over just yet. FY has to find a way to deny himself, and the 2 hits from the Centaurs will give him just that. So no first blood just yet. I thought that was guaranteed, but unfortunately the Mirana arrow thrown a little bit too early.
Buys a little time for Sylar in the mid lane. Yeah, and I thought that was an easy first blood coming out from Vici, especially from a very weak hero. They actually had the illusion block out too on the Skywrath.
Yeah, he had to eat that tango in order to move himself away, and I thought Skywrath Mage, I mean, the simple right clicks alone were doing so much damage. I thought he was still going to die, despite the fact the arrow missed, but he was able to get himself away, mainly because of that double stun from Hani. Beautiful avalanche from him. He had a great game 1, and is already starting off game 2 very well. They're going up against Sylar, though, a mid Lycan. So even though fnatic, obviously, they're at a big disadvantage with this aggro try, a lot of kill potential with that one, they're still going to be able to shut down the mid Lycan, but how well, Marlene?
It doesn't seem like he's suffering at all. I mean, Tiny went in potentially for the first blood too, but that just let Lycan get a free couple waves. And you really want to start zoning him out very, very early, because he just needs one more creep kill until he gets his bottle, you know, get a couple of runes and easily lane 1 from there. FY and Fenrir trying to wrap around.
Oh, they might just be able to find Hani, who is going to start running downriver. He already sees them. Fenrir's not going to be able to get close enough for that disruption. Little too late on that one. Fly, what I love about this, Fly is actually rotated down to the bottom lane. He's doing this sort of dual lane with Trixie. They've got if Fly can actually manage to get level 3, they've got the slow from Concussive Shot, the extra damage with Ancient Seal, and that's going to be even more burst damage coming out from Trixie, who already has a large nuke with that double edge. But if you combine the extra magic damage, it's just going to be even worse. So I love the fact they're just leaving the Slark alone. Slark has been seen as an offlaner in the past, so if he's dealing with an aggro try, we know that he's not actually going to be shut down that hard, because experience is even more important to him, I feel, than gold.
Super is actually saving one of his skill points too, going for the 1-0-2 early Flame Guard, and they can't really do anything versus ROTK on bottom. Firstly, he's in a safe lane, and he's getting harassed out a little bit, but he has 2 sets of tangos. He has a magic stick already, as well as a healing salve, so Fly's gonna try to use all of his mana to zone him out, but I mean, ROTK is not gonna suffer at all, and he's getting what he needs most, as you said, experience.
Yeah, and the whole entire thing there, they missed that first blood, sure, but Vici Gaming, they had a really good start for Sylar, who was able to get in really early last hits, and look at him, he's already level 4, and he's spending his time inside of the jungle rather than appearing in the mid lane up against this, you know, very dangerous Tiny combination. So he's taking the safer route here and just farming his heart's content, and they're going to be leaving what looks like Excalibur. Well, he's been, you know, doing pretty good up against what was started out to be an aggro try. Of course, the support's been rotating around quite a bit, and that just might be what gets Trixie caught as the smoke's going to be revealed. Fenrir leading with that one. The creeps are coming in, but beautiful interception there from Fenrir, who leads the creeps away in order for the arrow to be able to land. Now, Trixie is still a beast here. He's going to be able to land that one stun. Fenrir is going to have to get himself away from Fly, and Trixie managed to get himself away from that one, but no, of course, it's not bottom lane. It's going to be middle instead, where Hani has been able to draw first blood against Sylar. We were talking about how he was farming up the jungle. Looks like he went to go into that middle tier 1 and ends up getting caught. So that support rotation, I really thought they had it, man. But
they should have had it. Tidehunter actually skilled 0-2-2, and now he picked up a level of Gush at 5, but usually you only want one level of Cracking Shell, because one level of Gush is just so good. 40% slow for 4 seconds, extra armor reduction too. Arrow misses Fly.
FY off the mark once again. Trixie's getting low though as he double-edged both of those heroes, but ROTK gets in front. The heal coming in from Big Daddy, not enough. ROTK finishes him off with an anchor smash, and now Big Daddy in some trouble. He's trying to find some distance here, giving himself time for the tether, bottling it up. Can he tether? To Fly, gets himself away just in time. Fenrir throws out the last Shadow Poison to land him. 2 health! Big Daddy! So close to going down, but will just barely manage to survive there. Very close engagement in the bottom lane. I have to say though, Vici Gaming, despite the fact that it just all comes down to the fact they're missing these arrows. If they were landing these arrows, Vici Gaming would be so far ahead.
I've seen them hit so many like difficult combos. I've seen them run like SD Lash, Rubik Lash. Like, I mean, I'm very surprised that they're missing these combos left and right.
ROTK taking a lot of damage there. No Ancient Seal coming out. That's because our Fly is still only level 2. That extra magic damage, the Ancient Seal, even at level 1, increases that magic damage by 30%. That is a huge increase with that double edge, but obviously, not being level 3 isn't going to be able to have it for quite some time at the rate things are going. 6 minutes in, and 3-1 right now is the scoreboard. We have a very, very even gold lead and experience back and forth on all sides, but looks like Big Daddy's going to spend a lot of his time just doing the neutrals, which is one of the big ways that Tiny really gets himself ahead, right? If he's able to farm a whole bunch of neutrals, farm those stacks with this combination, gets himself a fast Ags. Next thing you know, he's going to be farming up Ancient stacks as well. It's just an unstoppable farming force. It looks like they tried to go on Sylar there, but not quite hitting the mark.
Similar story to game 1 in that EO is way high level compared to the Vici supports. Level 2 Shadow Demon, barely level 3 Mirana. And Shadow Demon Mirana is they should be getting a lot more kills. They should be getting a lot more experience. They should have gotten first blood. And I mean, this first early 10 minutes from Vici, definitely not how they planned.
Yo, I want to go back to your Tidehunter. You were talking about how he went for extra levels with Kraken Show, which is so odd for me because it's not like he is an offlaner here. It's not like he's using Ancients to recovery. Trixie, very smart decision, but the Ravage will stop him. He may go down here, still tanking up. There goes the Disruption, FY. This time he will be able to land the arrow, and Trixie sure to go down, gets off the stun, turns around the double edge, throws out whatever damage he can, but he finally does fall. That still cost him a Ravage though. I think that was a very smart decision from Trixie, immediately trying to teleport out. Even if he didn't live, he costed Vici Gaming that Ravage. Top lane, Super. Well, he's fighting up one-on-one up against Excalibur, but he may not realize that Fly's going to come in a moment. There goes those couple of nukes. Excalibur popping his ultimate, but of course it's an Ember Spirit. He stays away from that Skywrath Mage Silence and is able to just jump to his Remnant.
It's just so insanely difficult to kill him with... They don't have any stuns to try and prevent him from casting that shield. So if he has that up, it's just not happening. And Fly's going to be a long way until level 6 too. He's been doing his job though, putting pressure on all the lanes.
Another jump onto Sylar, but Sylar is already so tanky that they're no longer going to be able to kill him with just the Tiny. They need a lot more than that. Super's going to find Fly, misses the chains there. They could have given him the kill. He's still chasing down Fly. Looks like he really wants to go this one. Double Remnants go out, and that's going to be enough damage to finish him off. The question is, can Excalibur get the return kill? Super's trapped in for now. Remnant, oh, he's actually going to get both of them there with that chains. Gets himself a little bit farther distance. Pounce misses, and Super, can he jump over the cliff in time? No, he gets the last hit from Excalibur. Mana wasn't there for Ember Spirit. And he finally does get caught, so even though he got that Skywrath Mage, not worth the trade there.
They just attempted a stun, or a toss into a stun, but able to leap out in time, so FY lives to see another day.
Looks like they're giving, what I love about the Lycan, this is one of the things that I think is the biggest strength of Lycan. Everybody wants to talk about his pushing power or all the single, physical damage he can lay down on one target in a short amount of time. But for me, it's all about the farming game, where if he's able to get level 4, level 5, he can actually go and start jungling up very early on. You can see level 8, Sylar is full-time jungling. That leaves an opening for some of these supports to be able to farm up. Now, obviously Mirana, you want to be able to get level 8 as fast as possible, level 9, have that maxed out nukes, but it's still, like, just giving that solo experience over to this support can make a big difference, I feel, going into the mid-game, where oftentimes supports like these, which they have a kill combo, but they haven't actually been able to get those kills, can be very, very under-leveled.
And at the same time, Vici, they're like creating space, but their mid-game plan seems a little weak. They can't really 4 and 5. Oh, I see a relocate on bottom.
Yep, they're gonna catch out RGK. He does have the Ravage, blows it. Now Sylar focuses on Big Daddy right away, gets blocked up a little bit. Still gonna try and commit to that kill while Slark is able to finish off ROTK. Sylar extends himself pretty far out here just to be able to claim that kill. Will be able to get him on the backside though. Hani tries to go for Super there, but he's already gotten the kill onto Slark, and fnatic not looking good. Another arrow slides past Hani. Luckily to be alive here as Trixie now tries to get himself behind that tier 1 tower. Vici Gaming providing a lot of aggression in this bottom lane because, well, Fnatic can't really respond in force. They've got Fly farming up the top lane, trying to get him to his level 6.
And Slark is just so much poorer than he should be at this point in the game, too. He has 2-1. He did recover quite nicely after that lane, but I think he had Magic Stick and Shadow Dance, or at least it looked like it in that particular fight. Anyways, space created for Sylar, easy kill for him, and doesn't even die in the process. So they just need to keep him alive, eventually take down the mid T1, the bottom T1, try and dodge relocate ganks and take down Roshan at an opportune time.
Nobody should really be caught by this one. Super takes a lot of damage, gets off the chains, he still goes down. They saw the rotation, didn't anticipate that large amount of damage. Now Sylar may be a casualty as well as he gets caught in the pounce, and that's 2 kills for Fnatic. Hani getting a little low here. He has to fight up against these wolves, but not quite enough damage. 140 health left for Hani, the big tanky beast. Says the wolves are just not enough.
Man, Big Daddy's Wisp is just a whole nother beast, though. Oftentimes, he's just baiting the heroes into very, very poor position, and he just uses his spirits amazingly well. First picking off that kill on the bottom, in the bottom lane, and in the mid lane, too, now.
Excalibur, you're going to see a rotation to the top lane. He doesn't want to fight up against RTK with that anchor smash, so instead he's just going to farm up these creeps. Now, I've been talking a lot about...
FY waiting for Trixie.
Oh, bottom lane.
They know he's there.
Oh, Fenrir, he's sitting on the side too. They could catch him out. He's a big tanky hero though. Do they really have enough damage with both of these supports being so under leveled? Doesn't look like they feel they have enough. Both of them going to back away. The Centaur ultimate, they're going to go for the top lane where the relocate will find ROTK and pick off that precious offlaner. Now they finally do go for the kill onto the Centaur. This time the arrow will land. Follow-up Starstorm gets away from the stun. Trixie tries to teleport away, but isn't found in time. Super now fighting up against Excalibur. He's going to take that silence though. Excalibur dropping low. He has to get out of here in time, but no! ROTK! Super managed to secure that kill and get himself away just in time. As we see Sylar just constantly putting pressure on that middle lane. Whenever he sees the opening, he goes from his jungle into that middle lane and starts laying down that early damage on the tier 1.
Ooh, Super snatches the regeneration rune, and Tidehunter
wow.
very, very close to his mech too, and I think that's when we see Vici start grouping up a lot more. Slark, 1,300 gold, not really sure what he's saving up for. Shadowblade could be really nice to pick off the Mirana nonstop and set up ganks on the Lycanthrope, but not sure if he's going to have the time and the space to farm that item.
Trixie, without a Blink Dagger, and he's nowhere near it. There's zero way they could defend this tier 1 tower at the bottom lane. Looks like Hani's going to commit for a counter as he goes for the middle tier 1 tower, commits as much as possible, but the deny comes out from Super, and he may just get a kill on top of that. He jumps in, doing as much damage to Hani. Big Daddy's healing him up where he can. 8 seconds to a relocate. They're going to be held in by the chains, grouped up, turns around. Super has to play careful here. That combination is too deadly, and Big Daddy, they'll actually be able to grab the Shadow Demon as Super still fighting up against Excalibur, who came in, provided that one support kill, now gonna go for another kill. Onto Super, Centaur ultimate goes out, that gives him a little bit extra damage, claims another double kill for him, and the Fly goes down as well, as Fly and Hani combine up to grab that one. 8-11, 13.5 minutes in, and Fnatic after that one, you should see that golden experience drop down quite a bit.
Vici severely underestimated Tiny's tank ability at that point. He actually got craggied, the Ember Spirit, as he was going for the kill. And look at his items right now. It's pretty much what one of the analysts was talking about. It's power treads, almost an Ags, drums around that 15-minute mark. And he's just surprisingly tanky, especially with overcharge and a bottle healing him up.
I love just the string treads and drums on Tiny. Obviously, it's a very standard build, but you're right. It gives him every ounce of tank he needs, but also the stats to be able to constantly throw out those combos. They're going to try. Well, Trixie cancels his teleport there. Vici Gaming continue the march through the middle lane. Big Daddy, well, he's got a tether, so he should be fine. Disruption goes out. RTK may blow Ravage into this one. Holding on to it for now. Big Daddy, they don't even need the Ravage with that one. A beautiful disruption from Fenrir will set themselves up for success as they continue bit by bit to take down towers. Fnatic will mount a response here. They can give up tier 1s, but not tier 2s this early.
That could potentially catch Fnatic really off guard. I think they thought that ROTK was going for a mech, as I did too, with the early Ring of Regen, but just skipping that, knowing he needs to be in that position just to set up that Ravage, or else Fnatic just going to disperse. He can't just walk up and expect to have a good one, and it'll also help him dodge against relocate ganks, which he's actually been relatively susceptible to.
Vici Gaming backing themselves up are going to farm for the time being. letting this Ember Spirit, well, he's been a part of a lot of kills so far. He's also tied quite a bit.
Excalibur in trouble on bottom.
Spied out by the Wolves. Not going to go for the kill just yet. Arrow comes out. Excalibur barely manages to get past that one in time. He even popped the ultimate, though, just to be able to get himself away. And Fnatic, well, they see those rotations just like game one. They see a lot of heroes in this bottom lane. They spend the time farming this time around rather than going for the split push. And I feel like they have a lot less pressure this time around. Last time, they were constantly trying to split push, trying to keep that map control. This time around, I feel they got the late game well in hand, and they can just sit back and farm to their heart's content. And Vici Gaming are going to have to be the aggressors.
Yeah, they need BKBs at some point, probably by like the 30-minute mark is ideal, but they're not really under that much pressure, as you said. They just really need to prevent Sylar from being able to do Roshan.
Oh, Excalibur. Oh, he may have just got caught out. Sneaks around RTK and does get that pounce. Very smart decision, though, by RTK to try and get in front of the Slark to stop that pounce getaway. Fnatic, meanwhile, they did get a trade. Tier 1 for Tier 2, obviously not great. Ravage is going to go down to the bottom lane. Excalibur gets hit by an arrow, and the Starstorm will finish him up. That was a beautiful play there from Excalibur to actually hit that Dark Pact at the right moment, stopping that arrow stun at all, but the amount of burst damage was still too much. And with this, the toss in, the silence goes off at Super, but a beautiful disruption. Fenrir stops the kill onto Ember. And now they're turning around. Here comes the rest of Vici Gaming, and they're hungry for more. They're already gonna get one kill on the Centaur. Can they get more? Ember Spirit jumps in deep, goes for Big Daddy right away. That leaves Hani a little bit stranded here as he can't find any additional kills. Gets the Tidehunter, who committed himself for that Skywrath Mage, but now Hani, there's nowhere he can go. He turns around, gets a Mirage kill. Can he get Fenrir as well? Goes for a third and he gets it. Triple kill for Hani. Even though he should have been dead to rights, he realizes it and goes for as many kills as humanly possible.
And same situation as before. They get a team wipe, but at the same time, Lycan's not even there. He's just been pushing in the meantime. Got T2 on bottom, T2 in mid. This really opens up Roshan for him. He could have actually snuck it in during that whole fight. And yes, Tiny made the best out of a bad situation, but it is a bad situation at the end of the day.
Right, Fnatic. It's 17 minutes in. We don't have some of our key items just yet for them. So, for example, Blink Dagger is obviously a big one. Excalibur, you would love to start seeing some stat items on him because Vici Gaming, with that Ravage, they certainly have enough burst damage from really the support Mirana. It's the only additional damage you need at this point in time, but obviously Sylar is going to be hitting hard very soon. 3,900 gold on him. What does he build here? Is this a BKB game as well? Going up against like the Tiny, who obviously has a lot of magic damage, but as well that craggy exterior, which can be extremely obnoxious. Does he go for that magic immunity?
Later, not now. And Ember Spirit also needs items too. And luckily, we see no Vanguard will instead be a Battle Fury. So they'll transition into the middle late pretty smoothly, as opposed to someone like Slark. He saved up all his gold for a Blink Dagger, yet he's still dying. Started off 2-1, has a couple of deaths since then. Looks like he's looking for a kill though.
He's gonna go for Sylar. Knows he's actually isolated here in this top lane. Sylar pops the ultimate, and he will be able to get that tier 1 tower, but if it costs him his life, Skywrath Mage ultimate, a little off the mark, they throw as many nukes as possible, and if this catches up to Sylar, they might be able to get it, but Hani has just claimed the tier 1 tower. Sylar still trying to get away, but gets stomped up by Trixie. He knew there was no escape from that one, and they finally do get the kill. And that means a Blink Dagger for Trixie. Extremely important, as Fnatic were lacking a bit of extra initiation. They obviously had Excalibur with his early Blink Dagger, but it didn't seem to be enough. They need a little bit better AoE hold for this relocate to set up Hani for success.
And now Sylar can't even get T1 towers for free. Luckily, he did buy his Necro 2 before he died, but at this point, it's always messing with his head. It's like, man, I really have to worry about a Slark into a pounce and a relocate, and until he gets BKB, he's still going to be vulnerable to that. So that means he just needs to farm a little bit safer, send his wolves out a little bit more, try and scout out potential ganks from Fnatic before they actually happen.
Vici Gaming, I love this. They went ahead, FY was able to get the mech, so that means Tidehunter can start going for those late game items, which is beautiful. Tiny's starting to work on that Assault Cuirass, but he's still a ways away from that one, and it looks like they're going to fall back on their split pushing. Have the two cores on opposite sides of the map, and they're going to go ahead and just farm their way. Like, they're just going to lit Vici Gaming. They've given up a lot of tier 2s, obviously map control in the favor of Vici Gaming, and I feel like this game is very much in the hands of Vici right now. They're in the driver's seat determining where Fnatic are forced to. but Fnatic are, again, making a good play out of a bad situation they're in, which is just trying to stay away from Vici Gaming at this point.
ROTK just has to threaten with Ravages. A lot of times he doesn't even have to cast it. Everyone just like running away from him because they don't have any BKBs on Fnatic yet. They're going to need it around that 30-minute mark. And I don't actually see any of them building towards one. Slark sitting at 2,000 gold right now. No Ogre Club in sight. Tiny went for a plate mail, so possibly an AC before that happens. And at the same time, they have to worry about Super too. Super does a lot of damage.
Nice RTK, blink forward, and they actually managed to force out the Centaur ultimate. But if they give up this tier 2 in the process, Glyph's going to be able to stop this one. And Arrow's going to come out on the fly, FY. With the Moonlight Shadow, we'll be able to land the arrow that will ensure the kill onto Fly. With a follow-up Starstorm, it's enough. Vici Gaming, even punishing any heroes near the secret shop on the Dire side. Beautiful. All they have to do, though, Hani's getting big, and he's getting big fast, man.
Yeah, he is, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like their mobility is as scary as it was previously because they don't really want to jump on the Tide. He will just destroy them, and at the same time, they don't want to give up Roshan too. So, I mean, Vici's been huddling around there, trying to protect it, trying to fend Fnatic away from this zone.
Arrow will be able to grab Excalibur, and with the Ravage follow-up, they easily have enough damage for that kill, as well as Big Daddy, who's going to fall to that Sleight of Fist. FY, comping a huge amount of magic damage, he will fall, but Trixie got himself low. Double Avalanche combination will be able to finish off ROTK. Super still healthy, though. They can give up Fenrir as long as Super manages to get himself out, turns around, disables both of those heroes pursuing Fenrir, and look at all that magic damage. The Shadow Poison just did a huge amount to Fnatic. Now they've got to get themselves away. As Super tries to pursue, will be able to lock both of them up, gets away from the Avalanche, and still manages to secure the kill. Big Daddy will relocate, but he's the only one left alive, and it looks like Vici Gaming, they may just try and set up a kill. So they're going to surround this area where Big Daddy's going to come back to, and he didn't even go back to the fountain, so he's going to be low health. He tethers to where he can, but there's no escape for him.
Man, that 4-stack Shadow Poison. Insane amounts of damage on those two, and Tiny, you need a BKB. They're going to need one at some point, and now Vici finally gained enough map control to accomplish some real objectives.
Yeah, this is honestly, I mean, Fnatic, I was deceived by it. I know Fnatic were as well. They run it forward, and all those stacks, you don't really think about it. But just like 3, 4, and all of a sudden, he lets loose, and they both drop so low. And Fnatic quickly trying to retreat, but there was no escape at that point. Tiny's gonna buy back, and it's obviously they know what's happening here. As Excalibur tries to jump away from Vici Gaming with a beautiful initiation. Trixie does what he can with a wonderful stomp, but it's too much. They didn't wait for Hani. They needed that extra damage, and now, with some of the supporting cast down, both Trixie and Hani will be forced back, and they're just gonna give up this Roshan.
Wow, what a timely rune coming out for Vici right there. He had a DD, he had the Howl too, and he just picked up his Battle Fury and just cleaved those two heroes down so easily. Skywrath, only 1 armor at this point. 23 minutes in the game, he can just get like 2 shot, probably 3 shot by Ember.
Aegis will go the way of Sylar. I'm a little bit surprised they didn't give it to the Ember Spirit, honestly, because he's such a glass cannon.
I mean, yeah, he's kind of glass cannon if he actually gets silenced from Skywrath Mage, but as it stands right now, he really hasn't come under that much pressure.
Yeah, I mean, the silence is such short range, they have to have some sort of initiating stun, and Ember Spirit shouldn't really be caught by any of that, because it's Fnatic going in with a Centaur.
I mean,
if
he does get caught out, though, they have defensive disruption that we've seen already from Fenrir. They have the blink on the Tidehunter, and on top of that, he has Flame Shield. That's a lot of damage that he's blocking.
That's true. Even the supports on Vici Gaming are getting a lot now. So 4 staff finished up on Fenrir. FY, we already talked about his mech, but he's got another 2K on top of that. And he is looking pretty good here. Trixie, he's angling himself for a mech when he can. Well, they're going to jump on RTK. There goes that cleanse, though. RTK still going to be bursted down with all those extra heroes. They just overpower the Tidehunter, and without that Ravage, they may just have enough to defend this tier 2. Looks like Vici Gaming laying what damage they can now, but probably back themselves up. Oh man, they just have so much physical damage with that Lycan. It's unbelievable. Excalibur, he's going to try and find some heroes, starts going on to Super, but that's the most mobile hero. They need some sort of lockdown. Sylar's gonna go in, gets stunned up by Trixie, the follow-up stunts from the Avalanche, and do they have enough physical damage? Sylar should drop here, but it's gonna be at the cost. No, the disruption is enough. And the Lycan will manage to get himself away from this one. Big Daddy separates himself from the team, gets a long tether out. A 1-for-1 exchange there. The Tidehunter going down the mid lane. Tier 2 still went down at top as well. It's an Excalibur kill. Vici Gaming very happy with that exchange.
What's the point of the blink on Slark if you can't even hit it with the blink? He blinked in, he missed the pounce, and then he was just in a terrible position. And his team was also kind of forced in a terrible position trying to follow him in. He had to blow a Shadow Dance immediately after that, and that just set him up to die.
Yeah, it's just, for me, I just don't see the solid stuns, the range stuns to be able to catch out the Ember Spirit. And like you said, even if they do find that, even if the Centaur manages to blink in, get that full animation of Hoof Stomp, and land it on Super before he jumps away to a Remnant, they still have the issue of disruption, of mech, of those sort of things that are going to be able to keep the Ember Spirit alive a little bit longer. It feels like they just do not have enough burst damage, despite the fact that they have huge bursting heroes, Skywrath Mage and Centaurs. There's a reason why Fnatic picking up those 1-2 and have been for quite some time, especially the Skywrath Mage. They love the silence, they think it's perfect up against this meta, and of course the burst damage doesn't hurt at all either.
So finally, Tiny picked up his BKB. Slark looks like he's probably going for a Scotty and just straight tanking him after that too. So I don't know. With only one BKB, I still don't think they can team fight against Ravage. And Tidehunter's time of shine is generally what, maybe like level 6 until maybe like 35-minute mark. That's really when he starts to shine. But he's going to have a refresher. His impact is going to be far reaching beyond that 35 minutes.
Yeah, normally you have some sort of downtime for the Tidehunter, like after that 35-minute you were talking about. But here, when you've got double Ravage, there's going to be no downtime for him. He's always going to be an extremely effective off lane, turned into these amazing AoE disable super. He's now grabbed himself a Chrysalis, soon on his way to a Daedalus as well with another 2k in the bank. And with that Necronomicon 3, they certainly have enough damage to be able to take these towers. But can they really push into the base 26 minutes in? I feel like Fnatic, despite the fact they've been losing a lot of team fights, hey, it's still the home team advantage, right? You're going up against a tier 3 tower. I'm not sure. I feel this is a little bit of a mistake here from Vici Gaming.
They still have plenty of time on the Aegis, and everyone's still really tanky.
Oh, honey, he may go down immediately. Already taken out. Fly is going to tell out as well. Excalibur can't even finish off a support as he jumps in with his combination, and it's not enough. Trixie falls, and man, I'm completely wrong on this one, man. Vici Gaming have every single right to move uphill against Fnatic. And it looks like they're playing a little bit passive here, just making sure there's going to be no surprise buybacks, but they will be able to take this tier 3 as well as move in for the racks, easily being able to take it, and potentially this could be another just straight up GG call. If Vici Gaming can manage to take 2 racks this early, Fnatic, how can you come back from that one so early into the game?
They really can. Tidehunter has a refresher or completed 2. So.
Excalibur, he didn't even get off the Dark Pack there, and I think that's the last death toll for Fnatic. They're going to try and maybe go into one last team fight, but it's a 2 racks advantage. 27 minutes in, and Vici Gaming, well, they're just rolling in the gold right now. Over a 12,000 gold lead, over a 12,000 experience lead as well. And Merlini, I feel like it's a last-ditch effort, and it seems like we are potentially going to a game 3 right now. It's Vici Gaming. Well, they're not even slowing up. I expected them to back themselves away and just be content with 2 racks, but they're going for a 3rd one. I think this gives Fnatic an opportunity, a very, very small one, but an opportunity nonetheless.
Yep.
Trixie gonna be stunned up. Sylar bursts down very quickly, but that was the Aegis. He's gonna come right back in. Trixie already down. Hani with his BKB. He's kind of invulnerable right now, but Sylar, he says, no, I'm gonna go for you anyway, man. Tries to focus him down. Ravage comes out, only stunning up Fly for now. And Hani manages to get himself away, but it's still Vici Gaming in control of this fight. Inside of the base, they're gonna try and pop super, but all the heroes are low. And there it is, the GG call from Fnatic. 33-19, 28.5 minutes in, and Vici Gaming, well, they had a rough game 1. There's glimmers of life in game 1 for Vici Gaming, but man, they struck back hard in game 2.
Teams generally don't like to pick the same lineup twice in a row. I mean, even like 2 heroes is questionable. Picking 4 out of the same 5. The thing is, after teams lose like that, they're like, okay, we know what we did wrong. We know exactly what we need to do. And Vici just completely drafted, and they actually were very unpredictable in their play too. We didn't really expect the Ember Spirit pick. They aggro tried, and I think that led a lot to their victory versus Fnatic.
Well, you got our analysis, guys, but let's go ahead and move it over to the analysis desk so you can get some of that Bruno action.
Thank you very much. Yes, we will get some Bruno action going in just a moment, but I think it's worth pointing out that a losing strategy should definitely be picked again, right, Seb?
I do agree with that.
That definitely worked well.
I do agree with that quote. I find it really, really good.
Okay.
So they should get the same strat in the third game.
Right.
So
They should just
decide whether
carry
it's a
on
winning
again.
or a
Right?
losing strat.
Yeah, they should just carry on again, right?
And then if they lose, then they should pick it again. Oh wait.
You know, it works the same. Vici Gaming should keep on giving away a winning strategy. That's what they
Albert
want.
Einstein said,
So
All right.
being mad
nice try.
means doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
that's being mad.
Yeah, that's a definite quote, that one. Jacob, where did things go wrong for Fnatic?
Where to begin?
Yeah,
I feel
it was
like
a bit of a disaster, wasn't it?
Slark maybe wasn't Excalibur's hero to play, at least not this game. I haven't seen him play it earlier. It didn't really have any influence on the game at all. We saw some great plays from Tiny again. Honey on the Tiny, I mean, when he walked away in the top lane, knowing he was gonna die, turns around, gets himself a triple kill before he went down. I was like, wow, okay. Still very much in this game, but the Ember Spirit, once it got the Battle Fury and then with the double damage and the Howl, just took them down too quick. And I don't think... once Fnatic did the combo with Centaur and Tiny, they didn't really have any damage output to follow up with, and Slark was very insignificant this game.
So Bruno, your thoughts overall on are we saying Fnatic didn't play very well in that game, or do you think that the Vici picks were better that time round and therefore they were much able to control them?
Not necessarily better, but the execution was there. They were lucky having the Ember Spirit. Ember Spirit, I think, is such a good hero that people have forgotten about. The fact that you can always slide a fist on Fog, even if you do less damage, it will mean that you will always find the juking hero. You will always be able to do the damage. And to a hero like Wisp, if you disrupt him, then suddenly everything comes out. And speaking of disrupt, the Shadow Demon disruptions were like key at many points.
Definitely, Fenrir and the Shadow Demon.
Yeah, Synderen, very clinical by the Chinese that time. Very precise. No, we're not going to risk anything. We're going to do everything by the book.
Yeah, I think another hero worth mentioning in this case was the Tidehunter that we saw in the first phase. We were like, this is the first real counter pick we've seen to the Tiny Wisp that they didn't have in the first game, and in this game it just worked wonders. The team fights break out, the relocate comes in. Tide has he's one of the best counters to the relocate because he stays out of the fight, he sees the relocate animation coming in, so he knows that he should blink in right before they land, so he can actually ravage immediately when they come in. It was a huge factor until Tiny got the BKB. At that point, of course, he got a little bit more space, but then they just kited him. I just think overall from Vici this game, the drafting was just better than in game one. They actually addressed the problem and solved it because of that. So.
Okay. Right, we're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, then we will get to game 3 here between Fnatic and Vici Gaming. Yet again, our second quarterfinal goes to a best of 3. It just gets better and better. Don't go too far away. We'll be right back from ESL 1 Frankfurt 2014.